Is that a periodic tie? Oh, I should have worn my.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and good evening, residents of Litchfield, and welcome to the January 22nd, 2020 school board meeting. I'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do not. So right now, we're dismissing Hirschberger, as far as I know, she'll be here. Summary of non-public actions from January 8th, 2020. Mrs. Harrison made a motion to approve the non-public minutes of December 18th, 2019. Mrs. Hirschberger, second. Motion carried 5-0. Mrs. Harrison made a motion to accept the resignation of Scott Thompson, GMS principal, who plans to retire from the district on June 30th, 2020. Mrs. McDonald, second. Motion carried 5-0. So I understand this evening we have the LMS math presentation. So let's turn over to you, Ms. Leckler.
Okay, thank you. So yes, we are going to focus on math. I have to just recognize one group, and Robin's actually here. I didn't know Robin was going to be here, but we just got word last week that I talked about the Coder Z. It's a cyber robotics competition. There's a few different moving parts to it, but one of them is there's sort of a whole school sort of dynamic where kids can enter into different challenges. We've got a high percentage of kids that are involved in it. And then we had 2 students that actually went on to compete at UNH in the New England competition and came in first place. I think that might have been in my report for this past month. But then we got word that we actually finished as a school in 4th place nationally for Coder Z, which we've been able to partner with a local high-tech business out of Derry. And so that's been a great resource for Robin, for our kids. And I just want to congratulate Robin, the program, the kids. Again, LMS is on the map for STEAM, and we've been talking about this course for a while. But congratulations to the team. So
It's great news.
Okay, so I'm glad Dr. Jetty has a science tie on tonight. We're talking about STEAM and we're talking about math. So I just wanted to start with, so we're going to talk about grades 5 through 8 math, the middle school. And things a little different tonight. We've had quite a few kids this year for our presentations. Tonight, Shay Bishop is here, our 7th grade math teacher. I would consider Shay one of our instructional leaders in the building. She's a team leader, does a lot for kids and a lot for our school. So she's representing the math team tonight, and we're going to focus on a few different things. And I wanted to start with what we did last time, actually. We talked about 21st century skills, and 21st century skills translate through all our content areas. But we really feel that these skills, and we've added to the list a little from last month, really are at the core and should be at the core at the end of the day of where our kids are headed. So critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, collaboration, communication, reasoning effectively.
You can read that?
Yeah.
Can you blow that up to
I'm
like
not
a
yet
full
40.
screen?
I'm
Oh,
not yet
you.
40.
I like looking at it there. I feel like I'm watching TV.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
There we
awesome.
go.
Thank you.
Evaluate and manage information.
These are for clubs.
I'm holding out on readers
Okay.
until I turn 40. And make judgments and decisions. So underneath all of this, the thread really is that students are applying their skills. They're applying their skills. They're able to apply their skills in different arenas. And they're able to, so it's not a matter of spoon feeding kids information, have them repeat back to us and recite. Though that skill might be important to build up to some of these skills. We talk about different levels of depth of knowledge and applying knowledge, but once we get up into the higher levels, we want to really see kids applying these skills. So when we talk about math, we are, and Ms. Woodman was able to, with the team, update all of our competencies over the past year. And so we've narrowed in on really 2 main competencies. That students will demonstrate the ability to apply and extend mathematical properties in order to solve problems. There we go again with 21st century skills. And then students will demonstrate the ability to communicate and justify reasoning in order to support mathematical arguments. So implied in these competencies are those 21st century skills and that application of those skills. So at the middle school, we have a variety of resources we use, and this list is growing, being that we are one-to-one. Our IT department has been wonderful at supporting some of the new technologies that are constantly coming out, web-based tools and various tools. This year, we added Big Ideas to 5th grade. They added a 5th grade program, so that is one of our resources. I think it's important to understand that our curriculum is not textbook driven. So when we design units, when we are designing instruction with kids, we shouldn't be starting at the textbook first. We should be looking at the competencies, looking at the end game, and then what resources, including resources like Big Ideas, can we use in order to support students in their learning. So Shay, did you want to say anything else about the resources?
Yeah, we've added here, what I'm going to talk about for 7th grade in particular is the smart boards have software that come with them that's very powerful for student engagement and how we use that in the classroom, along with the Chromebooks to interact. And that this is really just a short list of the things that we use in the classroom, including, pbs.org, like just pulling resources from other places.
One thing I wanted to mention too is we're in the thick right now of the SAS modulars. So the SAS is the state test. With the state test are a number of resources that they've really built up, I would say, over the last few years. And one of them is the modulars, which is you can use it as a check-in with kids, sort of how they're doing along the continuum of their learning over the course of the year. So we've been learning a lot about that this year. Last year, we used what they call the interim assessment. We didn't find that as useful, but the modular this year, we've implemented both ELA and math at each grade level. And what we're finding is we're still working through some of the kinks of the data, but it is very usable data. So for example, in math, what we get back is we get all the student scores, but we also get they're released items, but we already know what they are because they're not the summative test. They already give them to us, the items, but we can see how the students answered. And it really gives you a good look into their thought process and how they're answering. Now, granted, most of the math is multiple choice, not all of it, but we're finding that useful. So that's another tool that's not on this list that we're going to continue to build on and inform how our students are doing and those checkpoints. So I'm gonna zip through 5 and 6 a little quicker and then pause a little more on grade 7. And Shay has, like you said, a video that will highlight some of the tools and how those look in a classroom. So I mentioned that 5th grade this year we added Big Ideas as a resource, and Big Ideas comes with a lot of technology. So in a one-to-one environment, it is pretty easy to differentiate tasks and performance tasks. This is not this sample that I'm going to show you is not the most interactive. I had to put it into a PDF, and obviously it looks more like a worksheet. But just to give you an idea of the flow of a performance task in Big Ideas, again, curriculum is not driven by the book, but this is one resource that we use. So this is a performance task for grade 5. You study the different parts of a complaint in science class. You have a corn plant, in science class, you have a corn root sample and a corn stem sample on microscope slides. When you view the samples through a microscope, the magnification number tells you how many times larger the image will be than the actual size. You see only a portion of the enlarged image. And then there are multiple questions that build as they go along. Now, again, this is just a task. This is not this isn't necessarily a big summative, but the students work through this. Shay, do you want to?
Yeah, and it might not be the way, the teacher may not present it this way either. You break out parts, you can put it on different pages of the presentation that you're doing and work through with kids, not just, here's the worksheet and work through it.
So this is a formative or a summative?
This probably would be a summative, but this wouldn't be the summative of an entire unit. This would just
Okay.
be sort of the summative
Like
of
a
one
check-in.
concept within a unit. Right. Slide over to grade 6. So project-based learn, just an overview of grade 6. Students work through a unit gaining knowledge and skills. Complex questions, problems, and challenges are posed, worked on throughout the entire unit in pairs, small groups, or whole class. Many performance tasks are designed to encourage students to utilize skills and solve a task. So just one sample that Miss Smith is our 6th grade science teacher. They design a geometry city. They collaborate to design a 3D city. Each student builds a section of the city to create one large city. Students are given specific perimeters and areas to work within to build. Some students include the enrichment piece of adding a highway. So it's a really neat activity to watch the students. Not only do they work through their own individual challenges, but then they bring it all together as a class. Just an example of how they take their skills and apply them.
All right, so the piece that I wanted to talk about is the Smart Notebook software, and it's called Class Lab. The students' computers connect to my board basically through the internet. I send them questions and they respond. So it's really a good way to make sure every student has a voice and gets to answer every question, and it's great for me to know if they're understanding it, and if not, where they maybe went wrong. So, and that's basically what I say there. And in addition to what I'm going to show you, there's other interactive activities that you can do with the software. You send them like a matching activity, a vocabulary activity. It's pretty much limitless. Depending on how much time you have to create it, but it's a lot of fun.
Interactive, hands-on.
Interactive,
I like it.
hands-on, and every kid gets a chance. So what you're going to see here in a second is first, just an introduction to the lesson, what we're working on. Then, okay, you've got it. I'm going to send them a question. You're going to see as they answer, it shows up. And then students answering correctly or incorrectly, how we talk about that. And then lastly, once the lesson is complete, just a little piece of big ideas. Okay, log in and now try some problems. So it's about 2.5 minutes. And I recorded it on my phone, so it's not that great, but. You can make that bigger.
Composite figure. It's made up of triangles, squares, rectangles, semicircles, and other two-dimensional figures. Okay, there's a couple of examples up there. We're going to see how to find the perimeter of composite figures. All right. Now that we've counted this out and figured out what our diagonals are worth, send me what is the total perimeter of this figure. Okay. Our units. Are they units or units squared? Aiden. Units. Very good. All right. Send it. Oh, this is
That's the student's computer there that's going to receive the question in a second. And then my great video in.
There you go, guys. Send your answers.
So you can see as they answer, the percent answering shows up. The student entering their answer.
It's always has the last
Great,
few.
Eva.
Yeah.
Thank you, Emma. Okay, let's see how we did.
So now I get results and we talk about it as a class.
Nice job, you guys. 11 of us said 32 units. 32, also good. Who was on 220? That's okay. Oh, 20 plus 12. I thought I had time. Oh, what was she thinking? Who knows what she was thinking? Miles. She was thinking area. Very good. Tom,
Happy to see that mistake.
Nice job. Very good, guys.
I'm just answering another question, and then they'll cut to big ideas.
Now, do you see individual responses on
Yes.
your tablet so you can see?
I can download it into Excel.
Okay, so you can see who's having a hard time. Who's
Oh,
struggling
and
with
on their screen.
Great job, guys, on
If
this
they don't get it
lesson. Let's go to
correct,
big
there's a little
ideas,
red bar.
log in, and
Ah.
exercise 6.2.
Yeah.
17.1 was on equations and was extra practice solving equations. Let's go to 8.2.
So here's the big ideas assignment that's, related to what we just did. And then you'll just see them answering a couple questions. Answering away correctly, of course.
That's great.
One of the things that was interesting, I was at a conference today as a member of a representative of a group of our district that went to this conference and was on assessment. And Kim Marshall was the presenter. He's an expert on teacher evaluation, but also on assessment, does a lot of research. And he was talking about creating a culture in a classroom where students are comfortable failing. And I think as I was sitting there today, I was there with Mr. Momney. I was thinking about, the nature of his class is all about, okay, you're building a bridge and you've got to make it a certain design so that it can sustain a certain amount of weight. And the kids fail probably 10 times before they figure it out. And in Shay's class, just haven't been in there so many times. And recently this past week, I went in and just this interface, this platform, the way it's set up, the kids are so comfortable. It's very transparent and they're just very comfortable. There is no shame in taking a risk, having the wrong answer. And one of the points he made today was how important it is. One of the highest, one of the best practices for a classroom teacher to use is provide immediate feedback to kids on their learning. So it sounds pretty obvious, but
Yeah, it does.
but sometimes that turnaround time isn't.
It's hard.
Isn't,
Yeah, this
and
makes it very easy.
This is instantaneous, but building up that culture of positivity so the kids are willing to take the risk and not fail. I think that doesn't necessarily come out in the video, but that definitely is a culture in
Thank you.
Shay's class.
In middle school, that's really hard to do
Yeah.
because they're so
And
self-conscious.
that's what I picked up on was that student said, "Oh, I was thinking of area."
Yeah,
She was
That's
able
okay.
to
And that's just
explain.
and that was by chance. That wasn't staged.
I know.
which was
No, I know.
nice. That was
I know,
just-
but the fact that she was,
That's important.
and it's okay to goof sometimes, and everybody does it, and
Oh, yeah.
it wasn't a big deal. It was just,
It's
oh,
not going to be particularly easy, but when we start something that's a little more complicated,
Mhm.
more than half the kids will get the first one wrong,
Right.
and then we'll get a little better on the second, third, and fourth. And one thing that a student said to me was that was really important to me was, "Oh, I'm not the only one who doesn't get it."
Right.
Mhm.
Which I think some kids sit there and think it's just them, and then they say, "Well, okay, 75% of the class got that wrong on the first try." So
and I like too how you explain kind of where the errors came from.
yeah,
That
and who
what
can
was,
figure out
what
they
was
did.
behind the thinking, and let's correct that for next time, and there you go. Good job.
Similar flow here. So we move into grade 8. There's some information here on math vocabulary. Students are given math vocabulary regularly practiced to reinforce the language of math and develop stronger understandings of what problems are asking. Strong vocabulary understanding needed for many standardized test questions, and so on regarding vocabulary. And then at the bottom, performance task example, magic of numbers, using algebra, how much number magic tricks work. Students are challenged to think about concepts in a different way than traditional math assessment. One of the things that's really come out of this PLC work we've been doing with the modulars is the academic vocabulary. And when we look at the math questions, sometimes it's not necessarily the computation and calculation of math. It's what is the intended outcome that the question is looking for, and pausing on that and talking through that as a class. So that's one of the things that Jess LaChance in the 8th grade has really honed in on this year. And we're finding that she mentions a couple of Quizlet is a web-based tool, just quick vocab sort of repetitive sort of definition type stuff. But that's proven very helpful for kids as well. So the other thing I just wanted to highlight, I know I'm almost out of time here, but as you know, we have a math tutor this year at the middle school. She really wanted to come tonight. She just couldn't do it with her family, but she's phenomenal. Leslie Taggart Williams, just a ton of energy, very, very knowledgeable. And when we talk about all this about, being okay with failure and 21st century skills, she's working with some students that have challenges in math, and has really set up a nice culture, a positive culture. So she works with groups of 5 to 10. She also has set up some lunch groups, and she is doing a lot of push into the classroom as well, which was by design. We didn't want it to be just a pull-out student model. And so she works mainly this year with 5th and 6th grade. And we really feel it's important during the transition years and the early years of middle school, building up to pre-algebra and algebra, that they get these foundational skills and the application of those and confidence. Because with math, it is a lot about building confidence in their skills. So thank you for your support over the last year with the math tutor. And it's been a really positive model for our students.
Awesome.
25 passed.
Good job.
I think we started at 5 passed, Brian,
So
just for the record.
Come back and check.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
No.
I just appreciate seeing the utilization of technology. You know, that's what it's meant for, to be utilized that way. And I mean, the setting was great. It was just a very positive, like you said, it's a positive approach as far as, okay, you got it wrong. No big deal. Okay, we'll work on it. Yep.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Oh, I got that number. Oh, I got that number. I got it wrong too. And also the like product and sum, all of these standardized tests that say, what is the product of? And they'll give you the answer that's a product, the sum.
Yeah.
So if they don't know what product means or, yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
think
that's
that's-
easy to just use that language, and the kids, you know, they're good.
Yeah.
How is the 5th grade big ideas working out? I know
It's working out well. So one of the challenges before this year was there wasn't as much of a embedded technology into that resource of big ideas. This is much more, it's just more robust.
Yeah.
And also I think there's more tools for differentiation and personalization within that resource. So I think it's going well. It's also our math
That'd be a
team.
nice flow.
Our math team is very close. They communicate a lot. So it's just having the common language, the common resources, when they have the conversations around, the continuum from 5 to 8, the flow of that, it's been helpful. I think it's more rigorous too than what we had. So
I feel like it's more applied,
I do too.
more application,
Yeah.
which is what we want to see anyway.
Right.
It's good.
I think it also, basically Beth was kind of an island because she was connected
Yes.
programmatically to the school,
Right.
right? And now she's connected to the school that she's a part
Yeah.
of. And so it really has sort of just bridged that and brought it all
Yeah.
together.
Right.
And you can see when you talk with her, she is very energized by this program.
Good.
she is. She's also worked very closely with Leslie Taggart-Williams, our math tutor, who brought some different experiences. She was down in Brookline and did some different things. But also has been able to help support some of that technology and just the individualization and implementation. Big Ideas was new to Leslie as well. So, but they've been doing a lot in tag team in there.
Brookline, Mass.
Mhm.
Oh, they're very progressive down
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
Brookline
Yeah.
especially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
She-
interesting.
yeah.
She
Yeah,
probably
we're
brought a
very
whole
fortunate.
new bag of
She's
tricks.
one of my college classmates.
Was she?
She graduated from St. Mike's the year I did.
Oh, wow.
Small world.
Thanks.
Okay.
Tom, thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shay.
Yeah,
Have a good
no
night.
problem.
Thank you very
It
much.
was fun.
Thank you, Shay.
Yeah, no problem.
Can he leave? He gets to leave?
Yeah, I think so. He's
I think next
got an
time we'll
early
get-
start.
I think next time we'll get Mr. Thompson's recording equipment, so we don't have to use phones.
Oh. I was so last minute.
I'm just glad the video worked this time.
Yeah.
Yes, what a
Yes.
difference. You're absolutely
Well, we
right.
tested it, and I
Did you?
tested it at school, and yeah,
That's great.
Thank you.
no
Thank
issues.
you very much.
Yeah, no
Thank you.
Enjoy
problem.
the rest of your evening.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, no problem with that. That'll bring us to correspondence.
No
Still-
correspondence.
Write me a letter.
Nobody loves us.
No. Oh, well.
I'm not going to say
That's all right.
anything.
All right, that'll bring us to superintendent.
Okay, so some quick follow-ups for the board. I want to start with the Alice drill debrief. So I'm sure you saw, those of you who are parents in the district, that we had noticed parents that we were going to be doing an Alice drill. We then sprung that on Monday, not yesterday, Monday before, the 13th. Thank you. And we did Alice drills starting at LMS, followed by GMS, and then up to the high school. And so basically the scenario that we created for people was that there was a threat immediately outside of your classroom door and also outside your window. And what we were trying to do was to really have people practice how to barricade and prepare to counter against some sort of threat coming in. So we did that in a sensitive way. We weren't, trying to bust doors down or, whistling or anything along those lines. And so it really revealed, Michelle, Corey, and I went around to the schools with the principals and the emergency management team, taking a look at how the responses were to it. And we recognize there are things we need to keep working on and we need to keep drilling on. I think we're getting closer to the point that we're going to stop announcing in advance that we're going to do this and just make this part of the routine protocol of what we have to do. We don't routinely announce that we're going to do a fire drill. We just conduct a fire drill. And I hate to say this, but hearing about school fires is relatively few and far between. Preparing for threats in school seems to be more of a concern today. So we're going to keep at it and just keep debriefing with staff, gathering information on how things went and how we get better. And when we get to the warrant tonight, we'll see there's a couple of items on there to address what's emerging out of this. So I think we're all kind of plugging in the same direction. But did the board hear any feedback?
I did.
Yeah, tell us about it.
What language did you use with the kindergartners in the first drill?
The first drill, like the very
Practice
first time?
drill outside the window, or was there a scary, there was someone, whatever terminology was used this time triggered a bunch of, there's a stranger outside the window. Like, this is from a parent.
Yeah.
And it triggered her child. Like their whole life they've been told, like cried all day.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know. There was they used different words on the first drill, but I'm assuming they use what Alice wants you to use.
Well, so I don't know that Alice really has terminology.
Didn't they use like scary bear or something like that?
The word that we're using is intruder.
Yeah.
But I think at GMS we actually kind of toned it down to there's a person with, we didn't say a weapon.
No, assistant principal Clinton Jones, she more modified it because she knows the kids.
Yeah.
And what terminology they would be less affected by.
Was the child frightened by seeing the person, or was it?
The announcement that there was somebody, and I don't know if they said a weapon.
I think they said stranger. I think we used the word intruder at the middle and high school.
I'll be interested. I'm
Stranger
just interested what they use. I
At
wasn't
GMS.
there. I work at a middle school. We tell it like it is. But I don't know. Do you do Alice in your district?
I have not been present yet. I believe we do, but I haven't been present. I only work half a day, so I haven't been present for an Alice drill.
I don't know if I don't want to tiptoe around it, but I'm just feedback. Yeah, I know.
Well, and I think the parents have advance notice, so the more parents kind of talk to their kids and, ahead of time and after.
Sounding going forward, they may not get that kind of notice.
Right.
So you had a different script for the middle school and the high school.
Yeah.
Is it?
We have each time.
Do we-
It
do
says
we-
a strange man is what it
Oh.
says. So instead of intruder,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it
we're
just
trying to be as
depends.
clear as we can.
Right,
And we're
without-
thinking about pre-K.
With the semi-automatic,
The fourth grade.
Yeah.
So
Well, I don't know. I guess
You're also notifying the teacher at the same time.
Yeah,
right. So
right.
you don't want to see there's a weird man outside the window because they're not going to do
Yeah.
anything in the future. So I think, whatever works to alert the teachers, and at pre-K and K, the kids are mostly taking their cues from their teacher.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
exactly.
That was my
Yeah.
feedback. Sorry.
just wondering if we got any parent feedback.
I have to say I'm pretty sensitive to balancing that. Like, how do we drill this without scaring
Right.
students? Because the last thing we want to do is create fear.
Right.
But on the flip side, if you do nothing, and something happens, nobody's
Oh,
prepared for
absolutely.
it. So it's really a delicate balancing act, and
I think there's an opportunity probably for the teacher afterwards also to debrief the children.
exactly.
So each time
Yeah.
that this occurs, that they'll learn something new and something different as far as how to go ahead and approach it.
Yeah.
And probably calm the kids down.
Yeah.
But when you bring that up, it reminded me of, well, we have a warrant article, obviously for door locks, which would come in handy in this particular drill.
Night
Right.
lock.
But is there anything as far as for windows, any type of like simple locking mechanisms that are utilized now? Like bars, I know they can break the glass, but I mean, outside
Right.
of breaking the
I
glass.
think in most cases our windows lock pretty easily, so I'm not sure that we've heard of those as a concern.
What's
Sorry?
that? Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if there's some type of mechanism that's manufactured right now that's utilized for that.
Drop gates.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they have those at the high school, the drop gates.
At least the door locks. I mean, that's a big part of it because especially if they're out in the hallway, I mean, that's how they're going to try to come in through the door. And that's what we have a warrant for, is to get those locks.
Yeah.
And the next piece that we're researching now are schools are installing a blue light security system. So basically, you know how you can pull the fire alarm and it activates the red lights.
Mhm.
Now they have blue lights that basically say there's a threat in the building. So the minute you see the blue flashing strobe, it's like going to lockdown. So you don't even have to wait for the announcement to be made because somebody can just activate it and people will respond. The other piece that's powerful about that is that you put it on the outside of the building. So somebody approaching the building says something's going on here. There's blue flashing lights, maybe a sign next to it that says, you know,
Cops.
building in lockdown, please don't enter. Because one of the things that we had happen
No.
is, oh yeah, there were staff members arriving during the drill. And then there was a special ed
Well,
meeting.
they didn't know it was a drill. That was the whole idea behind not telling them in advance.
So they just came to work and came walking right in. And then we had a special ed meeting that said, oh, this doesn't apply to us. Let's finish the meeting and then you can leave. It's like, no, it applies to you. You know, so we have some work to do still in terms of when we do a drill, like how do we handle that? But anyway,
You're on it.
we're on it, but at least we're practicing. So that's a plus.
So this blue light you're referring to,
Yep.
are they placed inside the rooms or outside the rooms?
It would be in the hallway. So, you know, you see the blue strobe outside. I don't think there's one in each room. I think it would be cost prohibitive to install them that way.
So the reflections would be picked up in several rooms.
Exactly. Yep. All right. So next thing, cable equipment at the high school. So I have an email out to Rob Fay just asking about, I need a status update on what's going on with that equipment. You know, and then whose equipment is it? If it's obsolete, not going to be updated, then let's make some plans to do something other than leave it sitting there. So hopefully we'll hear back. I mean, at this point, most of our meetings are here anyway, with some meetings in the auditorium. And so we'll see what we get for a response, but I just want the board to be aware that we are trying to get answers to that. Capital Planning Committee. So just a couple of updates from the last time. So Corey, Dave, and I have a meeting with Liberty Utilities. Basically, it's a similar situation to what we had heard last, or what was on paper that went to the previous BA. There would be a cost to bring the line up to the high school, but they've also estimated that the potential savings by switching over to natural gas would be pretty good. And so we want to learn more about that and then have a conversation with Siemens about trying to tie that into the energy performance contracting. So I think there's a potential to switch to natural gas, upgrade everything as part of the process, and save a lot of money for the district down the road. So we'll stay at that and keep the board up to speed.
Can you do that to my house too? Natural gas is so much cheaper than propane.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
So there's a cost to bring the pipe in that we would have to be responsible for.
Right.
But then if neighborhoods start tapping into it, would we be able to recoup some cost where now we just minimize what they would have to pay?
Well, this is what Siemens is suggesting, that, you know, there could be, you know, there's, okay, if we're going to bring the line all the way to you, this is the cost of doing that. But does that factor in all the bridging that comes along? with
Does
it?
that come from didn't Continental brought it in from Manchester? And
Um,
they let people hook in all along the way.
Right.
so our understanding is that it's sort of down by Cutler and
Oh.
Page.
From the other one.
Wrong end of town.
Right, but it-
For the high school, it's easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then also we want to have a conversation about the middle school and GMS, because the number 2 oil at GMS is not, the last time we had a leak down there, the guys who responded with the truck, so this was a leaking filter or something. So it wasn't a major leak, but you got to have somebody come and fix it, right? And they come and they're like, oh, oil, we don't have that equipment on our truck anymore, because they literally don't respond to old boilers with oil any longer. So they're like, okay, hang on, we got to get another truck and get another crew in here. So that's the reality of what we're facing in our aged facility there. So we'll keep at it, and I think we have a capital planning meeting before the next board meeting in February, and so hopefully we'll have some updates there.
We'll update, as Siemens had noted at the last capital planning committee, that they did have a draft RFQ for us to take a look at to see if we can get that out, get some companies in. So I located that today. I actually just shared it with you a couple minutes ago, so we can go through that and get that issued soon so we can see what we're looking at.
And we may, if it's as straightforward as I think it is, we may just push that out and, not even wait for the committee feedback, because it's kind of pro forma. It's like, we're just asking for people that are qualified to do this work. So we'll try to get that moving ahead as quickly as possible.
Good.
And we also, we've been contacted back by Dave Ely, who had done the redesign of the front of LMS for us last year. He's now come back and looked at, classroom space and some other stuff there. So we're going to meet with him pretty quickly. So we'll have more information for the committee there. So
This person getting an estimate for that entranceway.
he doesn't have an estimate. He gave us the estimate
He's only
for
gave the
the
estimate.
entranceway, but now he's
May just be
tacking
a-
on some. I think it was 6 classrooms
6
along the
classrooms.
front,
Yep.
and redesigning the front so that we can use the money that we have
Right.
as part of all that. So pretty exciting stuff. But we'll see if we can make all this work together. It's sort of like all these pieces are lining up, and then it's just picking and choosing what we want to do and move forward. Deliberative session. So I feel like we're in good shape at this point. We've reached out to Frank Byron. He will be the moderator for us.
Good.
And
Do we not have a moderator at this point?
He is.
he is the acting
He is
moderator.
okay.
And then he'll be on the ballot. I think he's going to run for
Oh,
it, but he's acting moderator at this point.
Okay.
So it's on Saturday, February 8th. Diane Goro will be the attorney there with us. So Diane will be representing. We sent her the warrant. She's looked at it, given us a little bit of feedback. So we think we're in good shape, but just want to pause a minute and see if the board had any questions going into that, or if
When we look at the warrant.
Warrants
after that,
later
we can
down,
discuss as
yeah.
far as who
Yep.
do present. When's the town's deliberative? Is
The
it before-
first.
I'm sorry?
right?
The
Yeah,
first.
the town is on the first.
Yeah, we have,
10 a.m. I didn't have any.
10 a.m.
it is 10 a.m.
and we have a snow date?
10 a.m. on the first.
No. Do you want one?
No?
The storms are all coming on Saturday afternoon.
Well, we have to hold it
so-
within 72 hours if we do have a snow. So if we canceled it on the
Yeah,
8th, we have to
within
hold it
70.
within 72 hours.
So probably Monday. night.
Monday.
The board asked me about unified sports at the last meeting, so I had a great conversation with Josh Knight, the new AD. Josh is very excited, having some conversations about taking a look at possibly basketball as the kickoff event. So you're kind of limited to basketball and soccer at this point, but he's thinking that doing something with basketball would be in the cards down the road. So,
You mean like having a team
right,
of exceptional students?
yes.
Would we have to bus them?
It would be unified, so it would be,
It would be under a special
it would
service.
be typical and,
That's right.
okay.
They, I'm trying to remember exactly what the rules are. You have to have a certain number of students who are identified and then typical students who are out to assist.
Okay.
It's a very limited, it's not a full season,
I was
so-
just curious because I know that we're always worried about transportation.
But I will tell you, having watched unified events, that, the crowd comes out and it's a huge event, right?
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I think it would be a good positive thing for us to venture into. And Josh he's also working on some fundraising ideas. Not that we're adding to the fundraising onslaught, but it could help to support programs like this. So GMS principles. So let me just share with the board. So a couple of documents that we have. These are, what did I skip? Oh, I'm going to come back to that. So, actually, if you take one and pass them down. So the first, if you look at the principal vacancy, this is the announcement that is out. At this point in time, we've blasted this pretty far and wide, so it's available in online job search resources and is getting some attention. I mean, we've already had a number of applicants who have applied for it. I had a couple of people reach out to me today about it. So, I mean, we're moving fast and furious on it. You'll notice that we have a closing date of February 5th, and that we intend to start interviewing candidates the week of February 10th. So the goal is to have a candidate in front of you in March so that we have this buttoned up. And as I said to Holly and Barbara when we were looking at timelines, I said, well, the number of principal openings right now, I think there are 8 elementary schools that are actively searching in the state. So I said, we need to move because the best 7 candidates are going to go to the other places. So we need to be ready to go. And quite frankly, if somebody doesn't have a resume and cover letter polished up and ready at this point, what are they waiting for? So we ought to be able to get this thing done. If you look at the search timeline, the basic concept is that an executive committee. So that would be a small group of people from the district who would then conduct speed interviews. So we're looking at like 30-minute interviews just to get a sense of does what it says on paper, is that what the person really is bringing in terms of personality and the concepts that they bring to the interview process. And then we would select 4 finalists from that group who we feel are most qualified to move ahead. And then on one night, February 17th or 18th, we're envisioning all the candidates who are picked. So I don't know if that's 2, 3, or 4, but up to 4, who would then meet with a teacher team, meet with a community-based team, meet with an administrative-based team, not the people who are on speed dating. They already got their bite at the apple, right? They would be meeting with student escorts who would be touring them around GMS and so forth as they move from room to room to meet with these different constituent groups. I would invite board members to come as observers so that you can sit in with those various processes and see who the candidates are. And then at the end, we would have a big debriefing session. So the teacher team would rank order the candidates, talk about strengths, how they felt the person best met the needs that they articulated. And then we'd have a big sharing out session at the end. And hopefully that would narrow us down to a finalist so that we could start to negotiate what a draft contract would look like. Because you have to have that conversation before you bring them to the board. You can't bring them to the board and say, wait a minute, that's not what I thought I was getting into. So
we're not part of this. We just go watch everything and then we go home and they all hash it out.
you can definitely be part of the debrief so that you can listen into what people are sharing. I would just remind you that you get the ultimate bite at the apple, which is one person sitting at that table and you're saying, yeah, but I want you to understand why one person is sitting at the table. So you've watched this and you understand how these groups. Now in a perfect world, they all gel and one candidate emerges as that's the person we've got to have, right? In an imperfect world, the groups divide and they're split. And then we've got to weigh out what the needs are. But what I like about this is it doesn't limit you to 2 teachers. Basically, any teacher who wants to come that night is able to participate. And you know what? I shouldn't use teacher. It's staff. So that's more than teachers. So I apologize. It's paraprofessionals, secretaries, whoever in the building has an interest in who that leader is going to be will be sitting in that room. And if you don't come that night, then you give up your bite at the apple, right? You live with the apple. But everybody would be involved there. The community team, I would expect the PTO to sort of drive that and to have parents and members of the community turn out.
How many people are going to be there? Like there isn't an auditorium. Were they all going to be in a room or the library or?
So usually on a night like this, you're going to get, maybe 15, 20 people. It depends. And they will be in a classroom and then the candidate will come into that classroom to meet and interview. If you have a group that is overwhelming, you can use a media center or something larger for it. So
Are you going to ask for community members or invite everybody?
I'm going to leave that up to the PTO.
Yeah.
To sort of drive.
Because there might be a lot of parents.
It's kind of like what we did
I know, I was just gonna
When
say
we-
that,
When we went
yeah.
through the
Yeah.
process with you, Mike.
And look at how great that turned
It was
out.
perfect. We got the best candidate
Right.
possible.
But we interviewed the different people. Are we gonna interview, you're just gonna tell somebody? You're just gonna recommend somebody and then we decide? We're not gonna interview the top 3 or 4?
I would think that this will have one person emerge as the
Really?
lead
We'll have an
candidate.
opportunity to observe the other.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
Right.
fair enough.
And honestly, if you're sitting there and it's like, you've really said, this is the person. I mean, I envision them.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden we bring somebody in, you're like, really? That's your chance to
Mhm.
really question the process. I don't believe that'll happen. Every time I've seen something like this happen, it just
Okay.
But they're not
sort of
our-
gels.
It's not our decision. I mean, we got
Yeah.
a final say, but it's Mike's employee.
Right.
We have to give input.
Yeah.
So, looking just at for groups, if the group becomes too large,
Mhm.
is there a consideration like to move to the high school, utilize the learning commons, the auditorium?
You could. The only thing is, I think,
I don't necessarily
You're
think
not
it's
gonna
gonna
know
be like,
ahead of
100 people doing this.
You never
I-
know what GMS.
I think though, the candidate being in GMS,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They've got to, I'm even
You're like,
thinking,
oh
on-
my God, what did I get myself into? What
It's
is
kind of
it?
worse if you went to the gym.
Mhm.
Set
Yeah,
chairs on.
Right.
Yeah.
and even the speed dating process. I mean,
Yeah.
they should be coming into that building and having an opportunity to
Oh,
see
oh my
where they're
God.
going to be. I'll tell you my fresh eyes experience when I toured it. I couldn't believe how sprawling and big it was. Every time I turned a corner, I'm like, there's
There's a
more.
whole new wing.
But wait, there's more. I mean, it just kept going and going. And that, because when you're in the parking lot and you look at it,
It doesn't look that big.
no, it
Right.
does not at all. And I was just like, how can there be another hallway back here? Anyway.
Awesome.
So if the board's comfortable with this, I want to get this in the staff members' hands so they know what we're looking at. We're going so fast at this point. I'm not sure we've communicated well to the staff what our intent is.
Mhm.
And I want to get that out tomorrow so that they know where we are with it and, get an invite to staff for that night so they can hold that night open. That's
And like
something
you
they can
said,
do.
if you have 7 openings right now, then timing is of the essence right now to get going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're around the state. So we added actually the second paragraph on the vacancy we added today. I'm still convinced people aren't exactly sure where Litchfield is. So we sort of wanted to describe us as a community because, it's like the bridge between Nashua and Manchester. There's a lot of people that
Mhm.
are very close by and may not know that they're very close by. So,
So
all right.
For your selection, I know that the board had kind of voting for who they preferred and maybe why. Is that something, do you want to take it to that level or no?
That's what the school is going to do.
I think the difference
Okay.
with the superintendent, I mean, I'm technically your employee. So, so weighing in there, whereas the principals are nominated by the superintendent. And I'd like to bring one forward, but knowing that it's not me deciding, it's
Right.
so inclusive of a process that in a perfect world,
So
one or
your
two
feedback
candidates rise.
mechanism will be that debrief, which at
Right.
least from a community perspective, mine was voting, so, okay.
All right. So I'm sorry.
Back up real quick.
Yes.
I was just looking online. And I don't want to put my oar in the water with it, but if you do go anywhere with the unified,
Yep.
we had to live through not enough kids this year and they cancel the season like after practice has already started.
Wow.
Could we look to be delicate of like costs and stuff? I just checked. Hudson doesn't have a team. Maybe we look. So we
They
have
do a
one.
lot of Special Olympics in Hudson. Big, yeah.
Unified's tied in, especially.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know, but maybe we look with Londonderry. Looks like they had a huge, the big.
Mm.
Most schools have like 6 games, 3 away, 3 home.
Yep.
Seasons. Londonderry's got like 12, but maybe we look with Hudson so we don't run into a case where we have to break the kid's heart by saying.
Or you can check with Londonderry too.
Yeah, they look like they have a big program. Maybe we, but maybe we look at something like that, help with costs, and ensure we have a program that doesn't founder year in year out.
Yeah.
Because I think there are. I don't know it all, but I know there's pretty strict guidelines of who saying can't compete, and I know not everybody can if he wants to compete.
Right. Let me bring that up with Josh. And I think he's talking with Amy Paradise. So between Josh and Amy, and as you know, we have joint teams with other schools, hockey, for example, with Pembroke Academy. So
It was heartbreaking to see those kids because they practice. same fields as my soccer team, and also my coach. Part of the food.
Mm.
I think it's another plus to basketball. It's a smaller team, so it's a little bit more manageable, but
You don't need 40. You don't need 40.
you do not. You do not. So then last, lunch balances. So there's two links here for you. If you click the first link, you get a sideways document.
Sorry.
Nope, my apologies on that too. But basically, these are the balances listed by school. The key columns are, okay, I lost track of that. Oh, if you look in the second column of students, so the negative balance, it shows you the amount per school that students are negative. So at this point, we're down $4,560.65. So that's the negative amount that's in our system. The adults, by the way, owe us $94.65.
A
So
little more.
we'll have to
Understand.
get after that too. But anyway, that gives you a sense. Now, on the positive side, you can see that there are many students who have money in their account. So the whole system is on the right side. I mean, it's on the positive side at this point. But those are the ones that we continue to get after. And
Have they gotten better?
no, it's relatively flat. And so what I did is I took, if you click on the by school link,
Wow.
I took student names out of it, but each dollar amount represents a child and the balance that they are in arrears. So basically at GMS, we have 14 students who are behind by $1,627.60 as of Friday. And I did a cutoff at $15. There are a lot of students who owe $2.40 or something along those lines. But, you know, the policy that we enacted was $15. So I just said, all right, what are the balances above that? And you can see that it's pretty steep at the top and then it drops off sharply. LMS is behind at $1,290.60 for 6 students, and the high school is 11 students at $1,834.60.
Okay, I have we offered free lunch? Do these people qualify for free lunch? How can we still allow charging if someone owes $623? That is a lot. Like for $3, that's over 200 lunches. That's more than a full year of free lunch.
2 years.
Here's the thing,
Yeah.
by state law,
We have to offer
we
them.
have to serve them. So we have to give them a reimbursable meal, which we do get that federal and some state money back. But
They're still charged
Yeah.
to
Still
whatever it
charged
is.
to
So
local
I don't
level.
have. So I'm paying $100 a month for my kids to eat, and somebody. Wow.
So
You
what?
could save like $600.
I know. I'm just not going to pay
Okay,
anymore.
so this is not an incentive to stop paying. Let's be
So,
clear.
I have a question because I know we talked last time as far as holding back graduation.
Yep.
So I know we have to supply a meal. Can we stop them from graduating until this is cleared up?
So Elena last year was a pit bull on, and this is just lunch. I mean, you're not counting textbooks that have been lost and library books and Chromebooks and the whole 9 yards. So every child who crossed the stage had cleared their accounts, and so that's why I gave you the grade level of the high school students, because you'll notice there are 4 seniors who are on there, and they're all on Elena's radar.
Yeah.
So she is absolutely tracking that and trying to
they-
get that collected.
They all cleared it beforehand. The reason I'm asking
Yeah.
that question is, can we do the same thing at LMS? They don't graduate from LMS until they're cleared going to CHS.
It doesn't have the same power because it's really not graduation. It's just sort of promotion. And so retaining somebody back there would be harder academically.
I would say the easiest thing to do is car passes are done.
Yep.
Yeah.
End of the year.
Yeah.
10th grade, 11th grade.
Well, I
Yeah.
was thinking
That's
You could afford $50 to park your car.
Right, and that's what I'm thinking, like, we should revisit the policy and put things like that in place.
things that matter to kids.
Yeah, it's not gonna impact their education, we're still getting. them
1,
lunch.
2, 3, 4, 6 kids are like at 35% of this total. 6 kids.
Well, if you remember last year at LMS, it was much better, right? And so the 2 students who are at the top of the LMS list went up to the 5th grade this year. So they carried that balance with them.
Right.
From
Are there any siblings on here?
there are siblings on the list.
Mike, is that something?
So there are, yes, if you add some of these numbers up, they represent a greater family
Yeah.
situation, which
Now, would free and reduced lunch, obviously this is here, would that?
it
they
does
signed
not,
up-
it doesn't resolve it in arrears.
But if they signed up for it, it would cause in the future.
That's correct. And some of these families have now qualified
Okay.
and come on board. So now you're dealing with past debt that was accrued prior to
I'm
qualification.
just wondering if we have a cutoff, whether 150, 200, whatever the number is, where we have an RSO that they visit the house with the paper in hand and say, listen, this.
I mean, our next stop is, we reinstated the food service bookkeeper position to get Lauren some more support on the business side of operations. And the goal is to have those phone calls start. I think you can get to the point where hand delivered by an SRO, that carries a little bit of weight, but do you really want to go that
Yes,
far?
after over $500, I do.
But I mean, even if it's 150, just to go
Over a
and say,
threshold, yeah.
just say there's a threshold where you just say, we understand there's needs all over, we want to do this, but this is costing the district money, that doesn't have to be costing money right now. I mean,
Over $100, you shouldn't be able to park your car and put gas in your car at the high school.
I would say, I mean.
What about like paid field trips, you know?
Well,
Maybe
no,
that
that's
should be
education, I mean, it's still education.
Co-curriculars. I mean,
See, I honestly.
I don't want to take
wanna
any
get involved.
experiences away from the
Yeah, I
kids,
don't want to get
the
involved
kids,
in
but
sports or anything like that, but something like.
It's a
parking the car-
privilege.
but something like
parking the car
parking
is
Yeah.
a privilege,
That's a
yeah.
privilege. That's a true privilege. I mean,
So wasn't participating in sports. I mean, you can do the same thing and it'll shut it right down.
I just get,
Yeah.
It's a true, but do you punish the kid for the
Right.
debt of
Well,
the
you're going to
parent?
punish the child
you know?
at graduation if they don't pay up. They're not going to graduate.
That's a lot of money for someone to come up with. If the kid's in 10th grade, what's it going to be up to by the time the child's in 12th grade?
well, or
2 more
whatever grade
years.
they're in.
Yeah, $1,000.
550.
I had a conversation with Lauren too, that if I contact a parent and say you owe $500,
I would throw up a little and then I'd be
Yeah,
like,
well,
oh my God.
but you can imagine that that's also an overwhelming phone call,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I said, we've got to get better about, look, we just need you to pay $10 a week, or, what can we come up with? It's not like we expect a check for $500.
Right.
We just want to make headway on this. So we've done I think, a decent job of stopping it from growing. But now the question is, how do we cut into that and get it better, right? So
Are they
find out
getting
for us?
letters? What's the process? at
Yeah, what
this
is the
point?
process?
there are letters that go home. The child is obviously informed in a very discreet way. It's not like they, get singled out in line. And then letters have gone home, emails have gone out. We're at the point, phone calls. It needs to be, how can we get at this?
It's a card system, I'm sorry, my kids are out now. But
It's a number system, yes.
I mean, I would think it wouldn't be hard. I mean, if you- yes, I think an email or a call every time they charge once they're over.
Right.
Mhm.
That's
the system have to do it.
It could even be system generated.
Yeah, system generated. They get they get whatever it is, breakfast, lunch. If they're there for 2 meals, they get 10 calls a week just for a money.
It's a lot of maintenance.
so one of the things we discovered
Should be
As long
automatic.
as-
we discovered last
automatic.
year that it's kind of two systems. So you pay into the school bucks, right? But then this is, I can't remember the name of it. Not Mosaic,
Not Mosaic.
a different system. And so, you have to go in and log into my school bucks and say, send me a low balance notification.
Yeah.
But somebody who's this far behind probably hasn't set that up. So
Exactly.
that's the pickle that we're in, is sort of getting all the systems to align.
Like some of these kids' parents don't even know they're behind. They think their kid's eating their bag lunch every day and they're charging lunch, would be
Right.
my guess.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a administrator override where they can go in and just override the parent's setting and start sending them whether they want it or not.
Can we find out for the next meeting and also bring along the policy we have for this? And how many of these high school kids do have a parking pass?
Sure.
Can I ask one other question? Could you, if it's not, if it's a pain, like don't do it, but could we have an idea of which of these have been taken care of?
Right.
Because I'm wondering if the kid at 450, 425 in middle school, if that's been taken care of for whatever, through the parents and free reduced lunch or anything, I guess I would say that one way for us to work a vote to encourage that from the system.
You mean if they've been moved to school, reduced lunch?
Yeah.
if they- if
Okay,
they've
got it.
worked
They
with us.
qualified for it.
Right, if they know.
If there's a way that we
qualify.
can, then, I don't know.
I think you still want to go down the avenues as far as trying to collect the money. So, I mean, if you can get like $10 a week, we get them on a paper
Mhm.
process, then do so. I understand what you're saying. If we
Yeah.
exhausted every avenue, then we can look at it at the end of the year. Okay.
Yeah, but that's
Right.
at the end of the year,
Right.
whatever number of kids you decide.
Can,
I'm just curious right now, like how many of these right now are parking?
Does My School Bucks have anything like that where we can establish a payment plan with people and work out, an automatic bill and then they send it?
They probably end up charging you every time.
I don't know
So-
enough
Our
about.
kids bring money
My
in
school, I
and
just
give
put
it to the,
I put money on my
people.
kids' account. That's all I really know.
Yeah,
Well, that's
me
the thing,
too.
too. So,
I know we're transitioning softwares. It's going to be starting soon. The deferred bill to July 1st, so we're not paying for it this year. It's going to start being installed. There might be new functionality in that as well. So the systems will be updated, new registers and monitors and
Oh,
everything.
okay.
So there might be
So hold
more
out for that.
functionality there.
So you mentioned that you have two different systems that aren't connected. So can we find out from Lauren also, of these 31, how many of them have been contacted?
They've all been
Oh,
contacted.
I thought you
well,
said.
Brian
that-
wants to
Letters-
call them
letters
personally
and
now.
emails.
By phone or letter?
But they've all received letters.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought you said that.
No, letters.
I misunderstood
I
that.
can't guarantee they've all been phoned, but they've all received letters.
Okay.
Can't guarantee all letters have been read either.
Well, that's the
Okay.
problem
Mhm,
is,
right.
I hate to say it, but the likelihood that they're getting letters from a lot of people trying to
Yeah.
collect is higher. So it could just become, oh, here's another one, throw it in the pile, right?
Right.
So
Okay.
that's why
They
we've
haven't-
got to reach out and get on
They
some.
haven't contacted.
Yep.
So maybe just send a registered letter.
Yep.
And then just, hold on to the receipt and you know they've been notified.
Yeah, if you're gonna start taking things away, you have to notify them and keep track. Do you know what I mean?
But that's why I want to see the
Yeah,
policy and start
yeah,
looking at,
yeah.
okay, do we add
Right.
something into the policy and make it effective now? And let's find out how many of these kids are parking and start there.
I have also seen posts on Facebook from parents who say, I want to send in a little bit of extra with my kid to be applied towards someone else's balance or, to cover a few lunches for somebody who can't afford it. And I don't want to, get into the practice of asking people to donate money for other people's lunches and debts. But is there an easy way to do that?
I think before we get to that, the thing that, and I'll say it just rubbed me the wrong way about this is the help's there.
Right.
And I know it's hard to ask for, but the help's there. It's,
Mm-hmm.
And we even this year sent the forms home with everyone
Right.
rather than
Right.
trying to be selective.
So this is about level with last year, did you say?
Yeah.
Well,
With all
I
of them.
think when we first brought it to you, it was over 6,000.
I want to say it was like 60.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
So
so
it
too.
has been reduced, but it has been zeroed. So we're still at it.
Wait, hold on. It's been zeroed?
It has not
It
been.
has
zeroed.
not,
No, it
no.
has not been.
No.
No, it has. So again, in in the perfect world, it levels out because this is self-sufficient, right? So that should be zero, but we're not there.
It's also good to know that in here that at least the seniors, senior before they graduate, have taken care of the bills.
You know, mess with Elena.
All right. And I think that's all I had for you on follow-up items.
That brings the school board. Does anyone have anything?
Want to wish the kids luck on their midterms and finals.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. 12 o'clock dismissal, 12:30 buses, which my son cannot take with a broken leg.
That makes it super fun. for
It
you
does make
guys.
it fun.
I have something. A few of us met yesterday about the reinvigorating the wellness committee, the HR director, assistant to the superintendent, and the food service director. The wellness committee hasn't met since late last year, so we're hoping to recharge it. Lauren was asked to chair, and I volunteered to co-chair. And so we'll be inviting a broader cross section of people to participate. And an invite will be going out to staff and admin as well to participate, to see who has interest. And if any member of the public, parents or guardians or students have a particular interest, they can contact one of us, me or Holly or Barbara or Lauren. Then our next meeting is Wednesday, February 19th, 3:15 to 4:15. And we'll be starting off by reviewing our wellness policy and those of other districts as well. as a starting point. Part of what we need to do is for USDA requirements, we need to log what we're doing from a wellness perspective. And so we're going to be trying to take kind of an inventory of what we're already doing, as well as obviously collect ideas of where we want to take it and what needs to be addressed. So we're hoping to meet 3 times before the end of the year: February, April, June, approximately.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? We'll bring us to community forum, and this evening we have no one from the community joining us. So we'll move on to general business. We have 4 sets of meetings.
Actually, 3 sets, January 2nd. We already did.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, all right. First one is January 8th, 2020.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for January 8th.
Is there a second?
A second.
Oh,
Can she stay off, right? January 16th.
She can if she wants to.
We can just do each one. We'll take a moment. So we have a
Okay.
first and a second. You second?
Yeah.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye. I'll
Opposed?
make a motion. Oh, sorry.
Good.
I'll make a motion to approve both January 16th set of minutes, the emergency meeting and the regular meeting.
A second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. 5-0-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That'll then bring us to the business administrator report.
All right, so provided my report for this meeting, I'll just start off with, now that the budget committee met on Monday night, they did their final votes on all the warrant articles, so we're ready to go on that side tonight. I think there's a pending vote with you guys, so once those are done, the budgets will be entered into the New Hampshire DRA web portal, and it will generate the MS-27, and then we'll set up a time for the budget committee signs the MS-27. You guys sign the default budget. So those will be ready for posting. I believe posting is the 27th, next Monday. So we'll get that squared away by the end of the week. I received the draft audit this morning from Plodzik and Sanderson. We have an unqualified opinion, which is a clean opinion. I did notice one thing within their financial statements. There was an accounts payable for a large bill from First Student that we didn't receive until very, very late. That because of timing, the audit firm had received our trial balances. This bill came in after the fact. So they have to pick that up and adjust the statements for us, but we should be able to issue those within the next couple of weeks. I did set of year-to-date financials, just kind of give an idea where we stand right now. So as of Friday, we were at 95% of FY20 appropriation that's either expended or encumbered. That's consistent with where we were last year. The fund balance that's currently in there represents about a 14% decrease in fund balance. Right now, I would estimate we're going to be somewhere in the $400,000 range at the end of the year. However, I do say estimate. We still have a ways to go. Definitely no guarantees in that. And just as I've done in the past, I do just some general verbiage on what each category means, the local appropriation, the local revenue, what's in those different categories, just so that makes the financial statements a little easier to follow. Food service, as of December 31st, is showing a loss at this point for the year. That's not uncommon for most school districts because most of your expenditures are front heavy. So I am actually meeting with Lauren at the end of this week to discuss some ideas in terms of spending, how to rein things in a little bit to make sure, or at least try to make sure that we stay in the black for the end of this year. Just facilities updates. So Dave, now being our facilities director, I think he's transitioned quite well into that position. Been been attending our directors meetings and administrators meetings with us, and it's nice to have him in there. He will be attending the Primex, or he's applied to attend the Primex Supervisor Academy in March. I went through this program in November. I found it very beneficial. I think he will as well. We've so far conducted 2 rounds of interviews for the custodial supervisor position, which will report to him. And unfortunately, Dave has been out sick the past couple days, so I have not been able to follow up with him on the candidates, but we do have candidates in line. And the last piece, I believe Michelle has it, along with the manifests. There's
Pass that
the
to Corey.
reimbursement form for the state funding for the CHS vestibule that we receive 80% back of our money upon completion. So this will just need Mike's signature along with all board members to sign. And then we'll notarize it and send it off to the state.
I also have the warrants for the board to sign.
Oh,
There's 3 of them. Do you want the blue pen or
I
do you
don't
have blue
have
ink?
exact numbers at this point.
Yeah, we're gonna vote first, right? We're gonna sign.
I'm sorry.
We'll vote,
Expenditures
then
are
we'll
up
sign.
Oh,
about 6%
I'm sorry.
in the food service fund, which to me, I think.
Yeah,
there
because
might
I
have been a
can
couple
just,
Yeah.
yeah.
equipment repairs and such that had to be done. But at this point, it should be just maintaining supplies and food to get to there'll be no more additional capital in any of the food
You have one?
service.
Okay.
So. Unless anyone has any questions for me, that's.
Yeah, can you just clarify from the special budget meeting the other night? That they still seem to have an incorrect number, but if I understood correctly, that Michelle had sent the warrant article with the old number on it, not.
Yeah, there's a
No.
$500.
And the blue pen.
No, he means before that. The amount that was on it was 23,517,016 because that was the last number we had before you and Kerry reconciled. That's why they got
Didn't have
that
the correct
warrant.
number on it. Is that what it was?
On the warrant, but at the meeting on Monday night, they voted on the
On the
correct
right
number.
number.
Unfortunately,
Yep.
they voted on it $500 short of where it's supposed to be. So we'll have to. Yeah, there was a $500 amount that was added in, and the numbers were provided, and they voted it in $500 under where it's supposed to be. So we may have to go to the floor. I delivered it just to bring it up.
So they didn't vote on this number, $23,514,330?
Yes,
They did. It should be 830.
So why aren't we, so, because we have to go by their number.
you have to go by their
Yeah,
number.
because at this point, your only other chance at it to amend it would be delivered.
And where was the $500 from?
$500 is a piece of equipment in operations.
So it looks like next order of business, we have the articles. We have 2 articles I believe we have to vote on, correct? Versus Article 1.
Yeah, let's go through those. Sorry, I was reading that. So Article 1 is the warrant, and at this point, the numbers are settled. You'll notice that the budget amount from the budget committee is less than the default budget. And so the board, I think, just has to decide how you recommend this and whether you're recommending the budget committees, or if you fail to recommend that, then you're basically saying to the public you would expect them to vote no and to deliver the default amount.
Okay, so Article 1 is, shall Litchfield School District vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including operation by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately. The amounts set forth by the budget posted with the warrant and amended vote in first session of the annual school district meeting for the purposes of fourth herein, totaling $23,514,330. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $23,660,450, which is the same as last year. And certain adjustments required in previous actions by the Litchfield School District by law, the school board
Yeah.
to hold a special meeting in accordance with RSA.
Okay, so I just clicked on the link in the agenda, and the numbers are not the same as the numbers that you just read. I'm just saying the one in, I don't know.
I'm on the agenda.
Yeah, I clicked on the same thing you did. It came up.
I have the number.
Your numbers were right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might have the wrong agenda.
Okay. Why are there?
There were two
different
agendas. I don't know
agendas?
why. I should have actually. I was afraid to actually delete one of them.
Oh, I
Okay.
think I pulled yours. I think it was that former one that I pulled out of the trash.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So
That's
the
all
the
right,
one with the
Mike.
latest date is the
All
right
right. Now I'm on
agenda.
the right agenda with the right number. Thank you.
Fantastic. So do I have a motion for Article 1?
I'll make a motion to approve Article 1.
Recommend.
Recommend.
Recommend. Article 1 for 23,514,000.
I'll second for discussion. My thoughts, given the January 9th, 16th, I can't remember which budget committee meeting that was, when we had the administrators here, and
Yeah.
I made the motions to basically
Yep.
add $80,000 back in. I mean, we basically gave the rationale that that was critical, and we needed it to run without affecting student experience and educational and co-curricular programming. So that was not added back in, so I can't recommend this operating budget.
I have a hard time recommending it because our teacher contract was added this past year, and I mean, they're just taking us back.
Mhm.
You know, we can't even cover that.
Don't have anything else? All those in favor of recommending Article 1 as written, signify by saying aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain? The warrant fails 0-5-0.
Well, we don't recommend it.
So
Not
it'll
recommended.
say not
Not
recommended.
recommended.
0-5-0.
050,
Yep.
right?
Article 2 has been voted on. Article 3. But let's go back up to Article 1 for a moment. I think a deliberative, the point needs to be made that if you look at the difference just in the fall budget, there's 100 some odd thousand, almost $150,000. And those just contractual and repeating expenses that we occur. That's just what we need in order to operate. So it shows you that the budget committee has cut quite a bit, quite deep into our operating budget. And we're saying just for moving from this year to next year, that's the amount we need.
Mhm.
That's minimum.
You know, the other piece too, just so the board knows, we got a memo from the town yesterday, and we're still trying to track this down, but basically the cost that the town is billing the school district for salt has doubled, right? So I'm like, hang on a minute, we're halfway through this budget year, and now you're doubling the cost of salt. We don't have that in this year's budget. We didn't budget for that, right? I mean, we'll have
Well,
to take that
actually-
from somewhere else.
Well, and the budget committee cut $2,000 out of snow plowing.
And we've already developed and had the budget voted on for next year. The budget committee has cut $2,000 from it, and you've doubled the amount. So, you know, it puts us in, I left a message with the town administrator. I'm waiting to hear back, and we're really unsure of how this has occurred because.
How much does salt cost? Do you give me like a dollar
So
amount?
they're billing us about $50 a ton. But what they're saying is that we've been shorted on the tonnage. So we've been paying, a load has been billed at 2 tons, but now a load is 4 tons. And we're not sure how it went from one to the other. And
Fuzzy
in checking
math.
with our contractor, you know, he said when it was originally set, he weighed the truck empty. He put dry salt in. And he said, that's very important. You put dry salt in. You don't do it after a rainstorm. He then drove up and weighed the truck, and they determined it was a 2-ton load. So he's unclear on how it's all of a sudden become a 4-ton load. So we're trying to track that down. But I guess my whole point in bringing this up to the board is, you know, that line has been cut, and yet the load size doubled magically. And so we really have to try to get a handle on how
So
this is all
we should
happening.
have accurate numbers then by deliberative as far as what the additional costs
will incur going forward, so we can possibly add that back in at deliberative. That's right. And so any ads that we want to do at deliberative to correct for this, and then other may have failed with the budget committee that we want to have reintroduced at deliberative, because I think the ultimate check on the budget committee, I mean, they've done their job. They've gone through the budget. I think they've actually been very cooperative throughout the process in terms of listening and working with us on some of the other warrant articles that are coming up. I do. But I think on this one, they cut too deep, and I'm worried about it. And so, as I said to the budget committee chair and vice chair, I said, the check and balance is deliberative. What do the people say when they turn out? And, and if that goes too far in the other direction, if the needle moves too far, the check and balance is the voters. So, ultimately we have to get a number that is comfortable in front of the voters come March. And that's what we'll strive to do.
Do we buy our salt from the town, or is it a cost sharing contract?
So my understanding, Tara, and Corey, correct me if I'm off base, is that the town buys salt at like a state rate. So, I picture those gigantic salt piles I drive by in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
We're getting it brought from there at a state contract rate. The town then sells it to us at the same rate. So they're not making money on it. Whatever it costs to get it into the yard, we just pick it up and get it delivered. So it's sold to us at that rate.
So I believe that we don't have any other ones we have to vote on, correct? Looks like we voted.
So Article 2 is set with the collective bargaining. Article 3 you voted on. I just want to point out, again, Article 2, a strong recommendation from the Budget Committee, 801.
That's huge.
That's huge, right? They're basically saying to the voters, support this contract. So that's really important. And one member abstained because of a conflict. He just couldn't vote on it. Article 3, again, 900 to support the money that we already have going into the kindergarten fund. I'll point out to the board too, I think you got an email from Principal Thompson that he had 51 is the current count for next year. So keeping an eye on 76 is the trigger number. 51 is, mid-January, that's pretty strong. So we'll see where it goes, but that's the number
Were
that
we
he
going
has
to
now.
call this the class size policy expendable trust fund?
We had that originally and we pulled it out because we thought it got too cumbersome. And so we just called it class size reduction. So the point is to reduce class size, which is based on the policy. The policy drives it, but we're trying to be less wordy
See that?
with it.
To me, that doesn't make sense to me. It sounds like you're reducing. I don't know. That's just me.
I know. I think it's more
Well, there will
confusing.
be explanations
Yeah.
for the warrants. There always are. We always
Okay.
publish them.
Right.
So I'm not going to go through each of them because I was going to touch on the same thing. That I guess I just want to publicly thank the Budget Committee for supporting our warrant articles because, they've shown, extremely strong. There's only one that was the 801 with an extension.
Yeah.
But it's really nice that when we did have discussion with them as far as, that if we put on a warrant article, they would support it. And if we did this, they would support it. And they came through and, gave us a lot of support, which I appreciate. I want to say thank you to the Budget Committee for their hard work and what they've done for us.
I want to make sure the board is comfortable with Article 5 because we voted on it as amended, but I want to make sure we got the amendment right. So if you read number 5 and are worried about it, we can make another adjustment tonight and re-vote. But I want to make sure you're comfortable with where that landed.
The amendment was to take it from unassigned fund balance at the end of this year.
The amendment was into the trust fund.
Oh, right.
Right? So
Oh,
if
right.
you remember, we didn't have that language and the board said, look, we really want you to put the $70,000 into the trust fund, not into the operating budget. It'll buy us extra time to expend it.
Mm.
We won't be limited to a year.
Yep.
And, again, showing a support from the budget committee,
That was
900.
recommended by them.
I think
Yeah.
part of it is that there's no tax impact, right? So we're saying we just want to redirect existing fund balance, assuming that we have it.
And what was it, like an 8-cent tax impact, I believe?
We would estimate 70,000 at about 8 cents. If and otherwise you have voted on all of them. I thought we hadn't voted on 5, but we voted with the amendment that now you're seeing. So So if you're comfortable, we will have you sign.
So
and-
before we do sign, I just
Yeah.
want to put out to the board, because I know we meet like 2 days before deliberative. I didn't know if there are any articles that we are presenting that anyone feels strongly about they would like to present at deliberative. If not, then I'll deliver them. I didn't know if there was anything that.
I'm happy to do the support staff contract unless someone from the negotiation team wants to do that.
What?
That's Article 2.
Article 2, yeah.
I don't care.
Just
February 8th.
just because I did the
Can we
LEA
get-
one last year, twice.
Will you do a PowerPoint?
Yep, I
On
can do that. I can model it after the other.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Very busy.
Just need the info.
It's on our website.
I know.
But
I
it
can
can
help
help
us
with
to be on a
something.
silver
I
platter, that would
mean,
be nice.
you know,
Most of them are pretty straightforward. I mean, as far as.
yeah, I mean,
I think the
if you
kinder-
think it's valuable to have different people present or worthwhile.
Maybe some people are more passionate about, one
Yeah.
article over the other, and
Right.
I just wanted to put it out there in case someone did have, a stronger feeling as far as for any of the articles. If not, that's fine. I'll just present. The only thing is, I can get it from Corey afterwards for Article 6 and 7, as far as more specifics as far as
Mhm.
what they are,
Mhm.
or just, what's involved.
Well, we may take, so the PowerPoint that's being developed, we'll just add slides in for the other warrant. I mean, the bulk of it will be explaining the contract because that's complicated. The others
Yeah.
will just have a few slides that we
Yeah.
can
That's fine.
piggyback. So I think you did it in Google Slides last
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
So we'll keep the same thing going and then we
Okay.
can decide who's going to present each one.
Horsey ducky.
I also want the board to think about the setup. I'm adamant that we use the screen
Yeah.
that's on this,
The
so
closest
the
one,
close
yeah,
screen, not the
absolutely.
back screen, because you can't read it.
Can't
So
read
the front screen. And what we were
The one
thinking
that was
is
used the other night.
the one
Yeah.
from the other night.
Mhm.
And notice that the budget committee was split between
Mm-hmm.
the two tables on the sides. So what we're envisioning is two smaller tables. And it may be like Brian and Tina on one side and then Carrie and Andrew on the other, with
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the board and committee in the audience. I'm not sure, unless somebody really feels the need to be on the stage. So then the main speakers will be up there. We'll have a podium on the floor so that you can present from there. The moderator can be on the stage at one podium and a second on the
Two
floor.
microphones you can put up there, one on each side.
Yep, we can do
That way
that.
they will not cross, and once they want to
Exactly,
get out there, right there, the school wants to get out there, right there,
exactly.
and then the screen still remains in the middle, and
And that's not to limit anybody's participation. I mean, but
anybody can come up. They can just sit on that side. The
exactly.
budget can sit, left or right, whatever, and it'll be right there as well.
Do we have to jump to the table if we want to be a board member and then jump to the microphone in the front if we want to be a resident?
No, I
Okay.
think when
Just
you,
delineate.
yeah,
Okay.
when you approach the mic in the audience, that would be, and just say, I'm speaking as a board member,
Okay.
blah, blah, blah. I'm speaking as a citizen, blah, blah, blah.
Do you want me to do Article 2 or do you want to do them?
Which one?
Article 2.
You can do it.
All right. I feel kind of passionately too about Article 5. I
Which
think
is
that's
5?
that's the capital improvement.
I could do 6 and 3 if you want. I mean, I spoke to the chief of police about the barricades. He felt strongly that it was important. Could,
Oh, what, Article 6?
yep. And then 3, I could certainly talk about and get the numbers that we've had for kindergarten and show that
Well, I think that's
there's
what we
a
need to
need.
show on that one is definitely, over the course of the last 2 years, we actually should have had a fifth grade teacher.
Oh, we did.
And,
Fifth, third, kindergarten.
I'm sorry.
I do the same
kindergarten.
thing every time I say it. But also, it's not just for kindergarten. I mean, we've also had to add
Right.
the day before the first day of school. We had to add a first grade, and we've added third grades, and as enrollment climbs, we have to add teachers, and it's important to
Kindergarten
have that
alone,
money
is an
available.
example,
Yes,
the 2 years in a row running, we've had to add it.
should have.
Okay.
Don't even get started.
All right.
What's that?
You have all that.
I do.
Okay.
So now we just need to sign.
You just need to sign
Sign
all
here.
3 signature pages.
Do you have a blue pen?
Someone stole it.
It's
Right here.
Yep.
Good try.
So here's the blue pen.
I have to notarize that.
And there's,
Or tonight, we'll get, no, tomorrow.
you watch this.
I'm sorry.
You watch this.
So are you just, you're just gonna change Article 1, it's not changed.
Yeah. It's.
Just
yeah,
add the vote.
We'll just add the recommendation. Yeah. Then we can post on Monday.
Yep.
And we will also be putting the notification for deliberative and voting in the Union Leader this year. So,
Yes.
And then National Telegraph?
do you want it in both?
I think more people read the Telegraph around here, don't they?
It's expensive.
I think it's a little bit of both.
I don't think anybody reads the paper anymore. I think you should put it on Facebook.
We have,
Yeah.
Everywhere.
You have to have it.
we have to post it in a newspaper.
Notice.
And Union Leader is half the cost of the Telegraph. to be
Okay, there you go.
Wow.
So,
That's-
and with the HLN no longer publishing, we're
It's
kind of,
sad.
And the Union Leader's online also, so.
Yeah, the Union Leader's like $70 or $80 and
Yeah.
the Telegraph's like 160.
Wow.
It's a lot.
Should we do a mailing?
Do a what?
A mailing? Like an explanation in the mail? to
We put it,
voters?
we usually put it in the paper. So we'll
Right.
have to think about how we're gonna do that this year.
Right,
right, because it normally goes in the HLN.
right.
We could send them home with students.
No, we can't.
Oh, we can't, that's right. Sorry.
Email.
Silly.
Yeah,
We'll have to think about that, yeah.
I'm wondering if a letter in the mail is more effective than the newspaper that. some
Who are you
people
gonna target? Just the parents of students?
Voters.
Have we done a mailed voter guide before?
Well,
just put it in
yeah, a
HLN.
long time ago.
They used to.
Oh, really? Does the town also, I mean, the town is also in the same predicament, right?
Yeah. Because it used to go on the HLN. It was a
Yeah.
little,
Right. So what if we work together with the town to come up with something
Cost share.
that we mail?
Let me talk to Troy about that.
Okay.
We still have bulk mail envelopes. Years ago, can we still use those?
What's up?
Bulk mail. They're already stamped.
There is a, there's another process. I can't remember what they call it. You just deliver them to the mail and they do them to every mailbox in the, because do we have a unique zip code? Just to Litchfield?
Yep.
yeah,
It's just ours, right?
just ours.
So that helps a lot too. So it hits every household in the zip code.
Or we go by the voter checklist. Here's the blue pen.
This way you just say to resident.
Oh,
You don't have to address them,
okay.
and then you get those periodically, I'm sure, but it just hits
All
every
the
in the zip
time.
code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're,
We get them for residents that were residents 4 residents ago.
all right, so moving on, old business, CHS program studies. I think that needs board approval.
It does, and if you look at the updated changes to the program of studies, that might be the best place to start. So that's the Reader's Digest version, the changes, and the changes that were made based, after the last meeting. So this summarizes it. We basically clarified that it's computer education. That's the language we're using across the board. Sean has provided a flow chart that will allow students to know how to navigate their way through.
Bless you.
And oh gosh, I'm looking at this. ICT pathways. Remove this course as a graduation requirement beginning with the class of 2024, which are the current.
Freshmen.
No, I don't think they are. Wait a minute.
2023, they are, they're the 8th graders.
So we had talked about whether to do that with the current 9th graders because not everybody selected ICT pathways. And so I'm really unclear, to be honest, as to how the high school is going to reconcile that because you have current 9th graders who did not take ICT pathways. And I'm not sure why we're not offering them some alternative. Why they can't, they still have to take the 2 credits, but why can they not skip ICT pathways? So I'm not sure why that is in there.
Cool. I like the little running start things.
Yeah, I do too.
That makes them really stand out.
Can I ask that the core values page be straightened out with I just think it looks sloppy with the justification, the second page.
Which page? Give me 1 second. I'm going to go to
Page
that document.
Where's the flow chart?
Studies updated.
Oh, page 3, sorry. 2.
Oh, you mean the way it's
Yeah.
spaced?
yeah.
That'll be fixed.
We
Well,
can adjust
yeah,
it.
that just looks,
That'll
that would
be
drive me
fixed.
crazy.
Yeah, that'll be
Yep.
fixed.
It's just
I usually
the-
go through it before it's
Oh,
published.
There's
good.
justifications off on it.
Yep. Yeah, I'm like,
Do you? Oh, now you're asking me. So where I have
Is
to
it flow
find computer
charts?
ed.
It's not in computer ed.
Control F. And then you type it in and it should go right to it.
Well, I was looking at the section on computer ed, but I did not see a flow chart.
I think it follows the engineering pathway.
Mhm.
So it's a combination of a course that would strengthen. I mean, it's described for you. I don't have to read it. And then the courses a student could take if they were in the engineering pathway. Oh yeah, I like that running start thing. First time I saw
Isn't that
that looks
nice?
great.
jumps right out.
Writing rubric.
Right. So was that the flow chart you meant? The engineering pathway?
Well, to be honest, I was reading off the chart and I hadn't laid eyes on it, and that's not
Yeah.
exactly what I would have expected.
Okay.
What page is that on?
These courses will be marked with an EP next to their course name. So it sounds like it's one pathway,
Okay.
engineering. And then if you look, ICT
Oh, I see.
pathways.
I read the next part in the highlighted. We have created computer education flow chart that will be part of the online program of studies only. So it's not in this one.
Well, that makes me feel better because I'm looking at the same.
Yeah.
I'm
I
not seeing
couldn't
it.
find it.
Yep.
All right. I should have read ahead. Sorry.
Me too.
Reading comprehension skills.
But I can see, for example, the drafting course has an EP, so that's part of the engineering pathway. So
Okay.
the student would know that that's how it fits in. So this is ready for your approval, and they are chomping to get going on.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a couple of small changes. I thought I mentioned them last time. We have no on page 5 under the where is it? The sophomore and senior project. We have no reference to committee there. So maybe we can just say that it's the vision presented by or adopted by the Litchfield School Board, because there is no program and philosophy committee. And then there's
Oh, didn't we get information about that? That was a committee when they founded Campbell.
Mhm.
okay.
So it was their committee's work.
Maybe we ought to put a year in there or something like
Yeah,
that.
it was like 1999.
Oh,
As they were envisioning what Campbell High School would be, they came up
okay.
with, we want kids doing a sophomore and senior project. So it's literally referencing back.
Very
You're right.
beginning.
It doesn't make sense in today's eyes because we don't have
Right.
that committee.
Okay.
Put the date next to it.
Yeah, maybe back then that would help. And then Campbell's link is not correct. It's not campbellhs.org. That goes
Campbell-
Yeah,
nowhere.
I think she fixed it. I don't think this program of studies is the updated one because she sent the changes. I think.
Yep.
So she said that she had gone through and changed it, but I'll check all that.
We'll make sure
before
before
Okay.
it goes out.
All right.
We actually found a couple of links in guidance that go back to the old one.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's another good
All right.
catch. We're catching
Page
those.
10, we're missing a word too. All juniors are required to the New Hampshire State Assessment Program. Must be take.
To participate or take.
Yeah. But I'm still comfortable approving it, with those small changes.
Oh, I forgot to pass this. Keep holding on to it.
Liz.
Did you guys sign it?
Mhm.
Thank you.
So do I have a motion? For the CHS program of studies.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2021 program of studies.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500.
Sorry, who seconded?
I did.
Thank you.
All right. So next, we want to discuss the NHSBA resolutions that are coming up.
Have you had a chance to read them?
I read the proposed resolution.
What? Find my document again.
It's
So from
proposed.
what I understand, the school board,
Yeah.
typically in the past has gone along with the New Hampshire School Boards Association recommendation. But of course, we have the opportunity to not do that if you so choose.
I went through them, I don't have a problem recommending all of them, so.
Me too.
Yeah, I agree with the NHSBA's recommendations on all of them, including the alternative language for
Yeah, we'll
9.
just clean up each one of them, a little bit.
Yeah. But there'll have to be a motion to amend it to the alternative language and then vote to do that. So I'm sure that will happen.
So on the floor, that's what happens, right?
Yeah.
They recommend the modification.
Yeah.
So then your rep is voting on
The modified.
for the first vote is
Yeah.
to modify it.
Yep.
And then the second is to then support it with the
Which one are you
modification.
referring to?
Number 9 had
There's a few of
some,
them.
yeah, a few of
Okay.
with the ones that have recommended
Oh,
alternative
right,
language.
right. Yes, yes.
The very first one, number 6 by the Raymond School Board relative to appropriations.
Yeah.
So it says the
Sure.
board of director recommends alternative language. So they
Yeah.
would say what that would be.
Mhm.
So it's 2 motions. And if I've never actually attended this, I'm assuming that.
Yeah, yeah. That's how it goes. So the Raymond School Board representative will say, whether or not they agree with the recommendation, or they'll make a motion to either accept or not accept the recommendation,
Okay.
and then there'll be a vote. It's easy to follow.
Okay. All right.
It goes pretty quick until you get to the guns on school
Last
campuses.
ones.
That is always a really an issue of
it's already starting up a firestorm right now.
yeah. Yeah.
Pun intended.
Right.
Yeah. So that is people feel very passionately on both sides of both sides of the issue. So
Well, if everybody's okay with me, voting as the School Boards Association has recommended with their rationale, then that is what I will do.
Does anyone have any issues? No, I'm good.
I got issues, but the same one.
Okay, thank
So
you.
you're all set, Tara.
All right, thanks. I will be there on Saturday.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thanks for going.
So that brings us to new business.
So the trip to Costa Rica, the board brought this up at the last meeting. And I just want to get clarification from the board. So separate these off, right? We have a trip going to Spain in April. We've noticed parents in writing that is not a school event. I have been assured by the chaperones that parents understood that, but I'm not exactly sure that everybody understood this. And as I explained to Anna Helbling, who's the organizer, I'm like, you have teachers from the school meeting at the school, taking mostly students from the school. Why would a parent not think that was a school trip, right? So on the face, it presents as a school trip. So,
And
Well,
why? Can we
Yeah.
just recall why did the board not accept this as a school-sponsored trip?
the organizers don't
Not
want
even
it to be a
brought.
school
Oh,
trip.
they don't want
No.
it to be.
So
Okay.
so they choose not to have this as a
Saves
school
us
trip
Mm.
because they don't want it to come under the policy IICA on
Okay.
domestic travel. So they don't want to be responsible for submitting the details in and so forth. So, so they don't want it to be a school trip.
Okay.
But I think it's really important then that we have to let parents know.
Mhm.
So all of a sudden, the posters about Costa Rica in next April 2021 go up. Organizational meeting gets posted. That got brought to my attention by the board at the last meeting. It's interesting. I brought it to the attention, the two principals, and they're like, I walked right by that sign. I didn't even see it. So, it's
It's not
just
an
one of
effective
those,
sign.
well, it got stuck up and it just didn't get seen. So the signs came down. I met with Anna and Tom, because that's where she teaches, and sort of walked through. And again, she reiterated she does not want it to be a school trip. I said, well, then it'll be imperative that we get a signed memo of understanding by the parents as they sign up. Like they sign off. I understand this is not a school trip. I don't want to be noticing people after the fact, after they've invested. It's like before they make a deposit, they need to acknowledge and sign off on that completely.
I did go to the that meeting that she had, and she was clear that it was not a
The Costa Rica one?
trip. Mhm.
How many people went?
It was a classroom of people, kids, some kids too.
So what that means to, just so the board's aware, like, as if we're going to have a parent, chaperone, or volunteer, we have to do an FBI background check. I mean, it's pretty detailed what that person would have to go through. That was a concern I had, is that there are parents paying to go on the trip. So it's a travel program for students and their families. So you have parents who are going on the trip who are known to the students as adults in the community, but we haven't done the background check. So it's another piece that is really squishy. And again, if something were to happen on the trip, as we all know, somebody who has a claim goes after the deep pockets. And so that would be the school district and our insured. So I wanted to make sure we were crystal clear about it. Now, it brings the point forward to the board. And I really need the guidance on this, because if it's being run independently, there are reward programs for the teachers that are sponsoring this, right? So they do benefit personally by earning points, and points can be turned into future trips or other incentives. So, it's almost like we're getting back into the realm of, so what exactly is this? Is this a private organization that benefits Litchfield youth, or is this a for-profit situation? So what about access to the school, using the room, et cetera? And I just want us to think our way through it and be mindful of it. So, one thing is we can put the form in front of parents and have them sign off and acknowledge it, but
I think this
they
falls,
still come to the
right,
school.
I
to
think
meet.
it falls under one of those. It's for profit. And here's the thing: we have a brand new fire department. There's a big room that they can be utilized by any citizen here in town. And if they want to conduct meetings here, that's where they ought to conduct meetings. That's why I mentioned to you, as far as the poster shouldn't be posted, because it's a for-profit. It's not a school activity, and it shouldn't be posted. It's
It
like,
gets hung up without superintendent approval. So that's
Correct.
another,
but it's a for-profit. That's like someone who's selling Avon, putting a poster up,
I agree.
with the little tear tags.
So and I noticed you sent us the link to the rewards program and what that entails. And there are opportunities for those points to go back to the school district to be allocated for student scholarships and things like
But then
that.
but
Then it would have to be a
school
school, yeah.
Right.
So
I had no problem with it being a school. Rental fee for the school, but I don't think it should be both.
yeah.
Is she doing this during her prep period and things like that?
Well, so this is part of the pickle too, is that like flyers go home. So I'm assuming they're being produced independent of our copiers, right? I mean, in theory, if this is an independent thing,
Absolutely.
they should be produced outside of school.
Mhm.
But then do you get access to put them into student backpacks? Hand them
Not
to
without your
students?
approval.
I'm
And
not even
so-
sure the way our policy is written that actually falls into one of the groups that are able to.
Because it's for
Everything,
profit.
Even the PTOs, everything gets
I have a
superintendent
huge
approval.
problem using the
Anything going home
copier.
with students.
Huge problem.
Right, but our policy, the way it's written, it really only talks about organizations. It doesn't talk about individuals at all.
Well, and it talks about, in my view, it's like nonprofit organizations.
Nonprofit,
Right.
local
The Cub Scouts.
organizations.
Right, Cub Scouts,
Civic
youth
organizations.
wrestling, yeah.
Right, but we don't send home, 31 brochures and,
Right.
Do we
a
send
lot of
home,
our
like,
teachers have
Summer
a
camps?
side gig.
We send them summer camp
We
opportunities.
do, but they have to,
through the school.
they're,
Some
Are
kids.
they?
How did they find out about this trip? Other than, did she send stuff home with the kids, or was it just the posters?
So my understanding is that a flyer went home
Poster
with
and-
students.
poster
Without your
and
approval.
Facebook, I think.
Was there a flyer too? Was there a paper flyer that came home?
I
You have
I
a
only
two
saw the
trips.
poster.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did emails go home?
I didn't see.
There was some sort of posting because I had
I
an
s-
electronic social media posting.
Yeah, I saw that.
got brought to me, but
Mm.
I'm not sure if there was a flyer.
I mean, a lot of our teachers have something on the side that they use to supplement their income. And I think this is a great opportunity for kids who can go. And I think it's a great opportunity for Anna. But I don't think, if she's choosing to not have it as a school sponsored activity, then the school needs to not be involved with any of it.
I agree.
So if that's the consensus of the board, I'll make it very clear. It's, can't use our copiers, shouldn't be communicating during the school workday, right? It needs to be
I
outside.
think one of the important things for the loop, or to keep us separate, we have to make sure like all the electronic communication is not through a Litchfield SD.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good
So
call.
a private Gmail account would be,
They're
way to
easy
do
enough to set up. Go Costa Rica, whatever.
Mike,
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just feeling.
Because it has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
Right.
She just happens to be a teacher in the school.
Exactly.
But I have no problem with her using her classroom, but I think if the music teachers, whatever we decided for rent, it should be a fee.
I think we decided with the music
We
teacher to
didn't.
not charge a rent
They're not.
because it was, the agreement was that they were offered at a cut rate to traveling to a local music school. So there was a benefit to the youth and families wanted that,
And
right?
Oh,
So-
absolutely.
It's open up to anyone.
Right. Anybody can use it.
So does this fall under that where, the benefit is for Litchfield youth?
No, the benefits for Litchfield youth and adults. It's for anyone who wants to go on this trip. And she's profiting. No. I would say
So
no.
I don't know if I have as big, maybe check. I personally don't know if I have as big a problem with that. If it's, as long as we're not opening the school up during odd times. If she had a meeting for 12 kids and 12 parents, and there's benefiting the kids in the town, so I don't know if I have a huge problem with that,
But there are other facilities that you
No,
can
there are.
utilize
I
after
agree.
school, and that's what I'm saying.
I mean, this room
This
could
room's
be
available,
used.
the fire station's available.
Yep.
Town hall's available. I mean, there are a lot of other locations that she can utilize.
I guess what I presented to her, and if she feels strongly against us,
You can come to the board and discuss with the board.
Mhm.
All right, so I'll do a follow-up with her just to be clear that, we need to make sure that there's no confusion on it. And so,
And I think by getting it out of the school, you're also going to eliminate some of that confusion.
yes.
And no SAU, it should be a Costa, whatever her trip, SpainTrip.com, whatever.
Yep.
Any time where it's associated with the school, it seems like a school sponsored event. Any,
Right.
yeah.
And I think I can send something out to the superintendents, the principals also, that they should be aware of what's getting posted throughout their school.
Absolutely. Yeah, this, it was definitely kind of a lesson for all of us. And I think the gray area is even our principals were unclear. Well, it's a trip to Costa Rica with students, right? So there's a certain amount of who's doing this.
Doesn't
So
mean every trip I go out with my family because I'm bringing 4 students, that's a,
you're going to advertise it.
right.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
That is concerning to me.
Yeah.
That stuff like this is going on behind the scenes.
I think the other piece is that it's so far out. So the assumption is
We
it
haven't
gets
even
posted.
gone to Spain
Yeah, exactly. That's how I looked at it.
And so this is a year from April, and I think the immediate sense was, well, did that get approved? It's easy
Yeah.
to lose track of things in the middle of this, especially when you're that far out. So
But even every time the high school has a thought about a trip, they're right here in
Yeah.
front of us. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
We're thinking about going to Mars. They'll come here and tell us. They won't have any details, but they're going to tell us about the trip. Like, I feel like it's all, I don't know, it's all,
And in deference to Mike, I think that's what Mike was concerned, Dr. Jetty was concerned about.
next time.
Not at the board meeting. And I think because when I was talking with him about it, it was the fact that he had spoken to her about the Spain trip and asked her to communicate if there would ever be another one, and she didn't.
Right.
And that's the biggest concern. You have to communicate, but you didn't.
So now students, if they're working on a sophomore or senior project, as long as they get a flyer approved, like if they're doing a fundraiser for something, they I mean, as individuals, they would still be able to use that mechanism.
Their advisor would know all about that. They walk them through it. They hold their hands.
But they don't make copies on our copiers with our
No.
paper, you know.
All right,
Thank you for that. We'll
go forward.
Yep.
Very good. All right, that brings us to the manifest. We also
Working on it.
Some public input. Once again, we have no one from the community here. We're all staying home, staying warm. That will bring us to
We're
non-public.
recovering from the flu.
Yeah. So we'll go into non-public RSA 91-A, 311, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee or disciplining of such employee or the investigation of any charges unless the employee affected, one, is a regular meeting, and two, requests that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted. B, the hiring of any person or a public employee matters which, if discussed in public, will likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of the body of the agency itself, unless such person requests an open meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
For a non-public.